Have you ever noticed how in calisthenics communities, people love talking about what's not possible? Like if someone asks, is planche achievable if you're 6'3" or 6'5"? All it takes is for you to go to a forum, IG comments, YouTube shorts, the comments fill up instantly. Like, nah, it's unrealistic, that only gymnasts can do it, and it takes 10 years minimum. And you have people with huge channels unable to do simple planche and front lever, talking about genetics, talking about conditioning, tendons taking longer than muscle to build, and all these excuses for why they, after 10 years, cannot do these skills. They brainwash their viewers to believe that what they struggle with is peak human strength. Just try writing in planche or whatever skill on YouTube and you'll see that 90% of the shorts are about tuck or advanced tuck planche, glorifying those skills as if they were some peak human strength. Now, one reason I can see is because there's more beginners than pros, so people obviously search up tuck planche more often. But the second reason is that these videos sell. But what this does is that it makes you feel like tuck planche is something that you need to train hard for, that's hard to achieve, while something like full planche being the pinnacle of strength and something barely achievable after training years. And what's funny is that almost nobody in those comments are actually training for it. They're just sitting there debating difficulty. It's like the community slowly turns into this echo chamber of people convincing each other it's not even worth trying. And when someone does do it, when someone taller or heavier hits a clean planche, the reaction is not excitement, it's bitterness. People say things like, yeah, but he doesn't train legs, or yeah, but it's all genetics, he probably trained before. Instead of taking it as proof that this is possible, they use it as yet another excuse for why it doesn't count. So that whole mindset reminds me very, very closely to this one time, the first time I went on Reddit, and I saw, and because I didn't have an account, Reddit would be pushing me different communities, right? And one of them was r/virgins. So I took a look because it looked interesting, and the group was basically based on people trying to bond over a shared struggle. But what ends up happening is that they end up building their identity around the struggle itself. They start out wanting help and support, but eventually the group becomes more about protecting the pain instead of escaping it. And when somebody finally breaks out, when someone finally gets laid, when someone finally gets what everyone says is impossible, the community turns against them. They say, oh, you only did it because you're lucky or because you looked good in the first place. They start tearing that person down because deep down it threatens the story they've been telling themselves. And that's exactly what happens in calisthenics too. People call it being realistic, being safe, being smart about it, but it's really just a fear of wearing the logical mask. They're scared to believe they can do more because if they believe it, then they have to try. They have to put in the work, take some risks, and trying means risking failure. It's easier to convince yourself something is impossible than to face the fact that you might just be impatient. Mindset is the most important aspect in calisthenics. Strength is a simple product of you training. You get stronger, but your mindset is what carries over into skills, into your further progression. And because this isn't like bench press or squats where you can grind through with brute force, calisthenics is about control, coordination, balance, awareness, proprioception, and if your mind isn't sharp enough, your body won't follow. When you're doing a planche press, a 90-degree handstand push-up, a handstand hold even, your head has to be completely locked in. If you start hesitating, if you think about whether you can hold it or not, that's it, you drop. You can't fake focus this kind of training. And I've noticed this with my clients too, and people that reach out to me over and over again. When they're confident and they're relaxed but focused, everything clicks. Their balance improves, their holds are cleaner, they feel stronger. But when they come in doubt, even if they're physically stronger than before, they can't apply it because their body disconnects from their mind. Since I bring in analogies a lot, think about it like a multiplayer game on your PC. If you're mentally not there, you're probably going to do a lot of mistakes. You're going to drag your team down with you. You might be bitter towards them or whatever, right? Sometimes it's not about the amount of hours that you put into the game, but it's about how you approach every game. If you're able to be fresh, if you're able to be open-minded, then your progress is going to be that much better and consistent. And honestly, I am in and out of that mindset too. It's something that you practice and eventually improve. When I get into my training, my mind tells me, say you're tired, you didn't eat well yesterday, you're not peaking, maybe you should train a lighter progression today, you didn't sleep very well. And what happens is after doing one set of full planche combination, I already feel like shit. But as you get more conscious of this pattern happening again and again, you are aware of your mind's games, you start being able to differentiate between real fatigue versus when your mind is limiting you. That's why I say the biggest limitation in calisthenics is not your strength, it's your hesitation. You could have the power to do something right now, but the moment you start thinking, I can't, your body shuts down that pathway completely. And it's also quite subtle. It's not screaming, I give up. It's just a little flicker of doubt that throws off your timing, your engagement, your rhythm, the activation. So how do I lock in? So you need to first enter a state where you're fully locked in, mentally ready to jump into the set and hit your PRs. I apply this one method that gives me into the proper mindset every single time. This method is used consistently among salesmen, public speakers, athletes, and many more. I call it anchoring, but some refer to it as behavioral priming, implementation intentions, or flow triggers. You go through a small ritual before and only before your training. For example, there may be a part of your warm-up that you only do before your planche day, and it really gets you into the zone. for me, what I do is that I have the same exact music for all of my first sets every single training day. So when I hear it, I get into this mindset, and when the beat drops, I'm already doing my sets and I'm going hard at it. Every time I hear this music, that means it's training time, I'm locked in, and I'm already planching in my head. The second thing I do is I visualize the combination or the exercise that I'm going to be doing right before I do the exercise. So what visualizing looks like is, for example, if you're just doing a normal hold, then you're visualizing your protraction, right? You're holding it and you're actually putting tension in there and imagining yourself holding it, actually activating everything properly, and this will get your body ready to do it. If you're doing, for example, planche push-ups, instead of doing something like this, where you're activating super slow, you want to go in and think about actually repping stuff out. You want to think about how you're going to apply the energy and how efficient you're going to make the set. With that out of the way, let's talk about plateaus, because this is where the mindset really decides whether you grow or quit. When you're in the early stages of training, you're building pure strength. Push-ups, dips, pull-ups, planche leans, pec push-ups, simple but heavy movements. You see quick progress at first, your reps go up, form improves, you feel stronger. Then suddenly you hit a wall. 3 sessions in a row, you can't increase the reps, the numbers freeze, and that's when your brain starts panicking. It's telling you, this isn't working anymore. You need a new plan. Maybe you've already peaked and now you need a deload. But what your brain really doing is that it's protecting you from discomfort. It doesn't like effort without reward. It wants constant validation, it wants visible proof that progress is happening every single session. But that is not how strength works. Progress in calisthenics is incremental. It's not reps that define your strength, but the smallest form tweaks and perceived intensity of the movement. So what happens is, instead of pushing through that boring, frustrating period, people start program hopping. They switch routines, switch goals, switch progressions, and they never give their body enough time to adapt. And every time they switch, they reset the clock. And that's why I tell my clients, the moment you feel stuck is usually the moment before your next breakthrough. But you need someone, a coach, or at least an external voice to remind you that being stuck doesn't mean that it's not working. You might think that this is an ad in my coaching. It is. But keep this in mind. I've talked to hundreds of people on pre-coaching game plan calls so far, and 99% of them are struggling with the exact same thing. They don't know if they're training right. They keep looking for new plans, methods, YouTube channel, the second they hit a plateau in their training, and then they end up stuck in the same place for ages. My clients go through the same exact mindset issues, but through me, making sure they stick to it, and by helping them break through their own mental blocks, progression really happens. They can be certain that what they're doing is right, and so they don't have to worry about finding another plan. All they have to worry about is just the mental side of things. I've had clients message me saying, hey, I'm not improving, my reps are the same, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Then I look at their clips, and I see the differences immediately. Their technique is cleaner, their form is better, their control is better, they're holding the positions tighter. They just don't notice it because they measure their progress only by numbers. I simply sent them a video of them doing the same thing from a week ago, and they're speechless. I remind them of how much progress they've already made that their minds are trying to block out just to get back into this comfort zone of being stuck. They go back, they train another week, and suddenly a new PR, a new progression, a new hold, because they stopped listening to the story their brain was telling them. Sometimes all you need is just someone to hold you accountable for reality and not emotion. Now the next layer is normalization. This is something almost nobody talks about, but it's key to consistent progress. Normalization means you are taking a skill that once felt impossible and you make it ordinary in your head. Because if you keep treating it like a skill that's sacred, like, oh my god, I can finally do a tuck planche, you'll never mentally move past it. You'll start identifying with it instead of surpassing it. If you keep thinking of tuck planche as this big thing I can barely do, you'll never start seriously training advanced tuck planche. And if you never start training advanced tuck, you'll never see what you're truly capable of, because progression only happens when you stop worshipping your current level. Once you've earned the skill, you have to mentally file it under baseline, and that's what creates space for the next step. Otherwise, you'll always be stuck in the same loop, mastering the same hold, the same comfort zone, the same movement over and over again. I want you to think about your first push-up. Back then, it probably felt like a full body movement. Your whole core shaking, your arms collapsing, barely pushing yourself up. What about now? You probably can do it in your sleep. You don't even have to think about it, and that is normalization. You moved past it so completely that it doesn't even register as training anymore. And that's exactly the process that needs to happen for every progression. Each time you unlock something new, you need to mentally graduate. Tell yourself, this is my new baseline. Many elite athletes implement this normalization by doing greasing the groove or morning activation. They do their hard movements in the morning or evening or on rest days for just a few sets with no warm-up, just straight into it. If you can do these movements in such conditions, you most definitely can do it in your training. And the purpose of this is to, one, let your nervous system kind of repeat the movements, but the second is your mind. It's for your mind to know that your body is able to do it, so that you can later approach harder movements. I'll give you an example here. One of my clients learned the tuck front lever ridiculously fast, like way faster than average. He built a strength, he understood the cues, everything clicked, then he started working on advanced tuck front lever, and suddenly it all fell apart. He felt heavy, unbalanced, couldn't hold the position, and immediately his brain went, I'm not ready, maybe I should go back to tuck, spend more time in it, get comfortable in it. And that's the same mistake almost every single person makes. When you step into a new progression, it's supposed to feel like that. Unstable, weird, humbling. That's literally the process of your nervous system adapting. I told him, like, no, stay there. Don't drop back. Keep training advanced tuck. I gave him more cues, activation, but most importantly, just reminded him of the progress in the past few months. So he forced himself to stay in that uncomfortable zone. 2 sessions later, he's doing advanced tuck front lever pull-up. Nothing magical happened in those 2 sessions. His body didn't suddenly get so much stronger. What changed was his identity. He stopped thinking like someone who can barely hold tuck and started thinking like someone who trains advanced tuck, and the body followed. He was now mentally struggling with advanced tuck front lever pull-ups, but unconsciously forgot to struggle in tuck. The tuck front lever went from newly unlocked skill to a normalized baseline skill, so now this opened up more space for him to learn a harder skill, being the advanced tuck. That is the pattern you'll see in every athlete who actually progresses. They normalize each new step so quickly that the gap between achievable and impossible shrinks every single month. And this is why I always tell people calisthenics is 80% mindset, 20% strength, because at a certain point, strength isn't a limiter anymore, especially once you've got a solid foundation. If your mindset stays behind your skill level, you'll never progress. You'll keep questioning yourself, keep hesitating, keep thinking that you're not ready. And if you never truly believe that you're ready, you'll never move on with the intent and confidence that real progress demands. Every new progression requires a new identity. You have to see yourself differently before you can even move differently. If you think that you're still a beginner, you train like a beginner. If you think tuck planche is your limit, you'll never unlock advanced tuck planche. If you think that front lever is impossible, you never even try the pull-ups that get you there. And that's why I say stop chasing more exercises and start building a stronger mind, because your body will always follow your focus. So if you're feeling stuck, remember this: your strength is not a problem, your hesitation is. You don't need to start over, you don't need a new routine, you don't need some secret exercise. You just need to commit long enough for your mind to catch up to what your body can already do. And surround yourself with people who prove things are possible, not people who argue about why they can't. Now, as just another layer, having a clear structure and plan and guidance is simply a huge way to let your mind focus on what matters, being the actual training, without worrying about whether what you're doing is right, whether your plan makes sense, whether your form is right. And that's exactly what I teach inside OKIRU 101 and school. Link is in the description. Because at the end of the day, the body rises where the mind allows it to. So you should stop waiting for permission and you finally start moving forward. Let me know if you liked the video. This is something that I know that a lot of people in calisthenics struggle with, so I decided to talk about it. I've seen this as a very common theme in my clients and also people that hop on a call with me. So yeah, hope you liked it. Like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. See you in the next one.